Well, all right, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. For those who don't know me, my name is Stephen Daugherty, Dr. Daugherty. And as I just said, I'm here to talk to you about getting a medical residency position in the United States. I've been working with U.S. medical students and international medical students for almost 40 years. I guess it's probably over 40 years by this point. I have some experiences and some opinions about what's the best way to be successful in this particular process. So, what I'm going to try to do today is just, in the time I have, walk through some key ideas, have you hold on to and walk away and think about. First, just to give you some orientation, what I'm going to do is provide advice. What you should do when you get advice is listen to it and then decide if you're going to follow it or not. So I'll talk and you can make that decision on your side. What I'm not going to do is provide you a formula. Do steps A, B, C, and then you're guaranteed to have an outcome. Because that's not, in all honesty, the way this process works. There are a set of things to remember that can increase your chances. There are a series of things you can do which decrease your chances. There are no, in fact, any guarantees in this process, but there are things you can do that will enhance your success. I'm going to tell you at the outset that I'm likely to tell you some things that contradict what other people may have told you in the past. If you have questions about that, I'll take the questions when we get to the end, because I don't seem to have a chat up here right now. And again, remember, this is just my advice. You can do what you want. The core idea is that this is a process that takes effort. The amount of effort you expend is pretty much directly proportional to your success. Now, I don't just mean that the people that work the hardest always win. I don't mean that. Because if you spend a lot of time doing the wrong things, that doesn't lead to the right outcome. But the idea that you'll take an afternoon or a weekend and sort of crank through this process is simply not factually correct. You need to have a campaign over weeks, usually months, sometimes years, in order to work your way through this process and come up with success. There are things you can do to improve your chances, but I want to emphasize there are no guarantees. So some numbers might be useful here. In the most recent match, international medical graduates that were in the match, about 60% of them got positions. That means 40% did not. Now, that means you have a better than 50% chance, but it means there's, of course, no guarantee. My best advice when you hear those numbers is not to decide whether to be happy or despairing, but just go into it with a sense of the reality and realize for many people, this is a 2-year campaign. You do some things and maybe you don't do the right things in your applications the first time around. You'll learn and you have a better chance the second time around. All right, so basic and I think key orienting ideas here. First, you're seeking a job when you're applying for residency. This is not you applying for school. This is not where you have your portfolio seeking admissions, and if you checked all the right boxes, we're going to admit you in. That's not how this works at all. I talk to people all the time that says, these are the things I have to have, with the idea that if I have all these things, then I will get in. That's not how it works. This is a committee not looking to bring you in as a student. This is a group of people looking to see if they want to hire you and work with you over the next 3 to 6 years. You have to understand you're trying to be hired, not trying to be seen as just a good person. You're trying to be the person they want to work with over that time frame. In order to do this, I want you to do me and you a favor, which is just blow out the idea you have in your head of the ideal candidate. Everybody needs to have these things. is what you hear people say. Now, yes, there are things that if they're true, they do increase your chances. But I talk every year to ideal candidates that don't get a position. And every year I see, shall I say, less than ideal candidates that get into residency. I think many people think about this process wrong. You think there's this image of what you have to be, and then you try to be or at least present yourself in that image. And I think that's a big mistake because you're not letting people really see who you are. If you don't people see who you are, they can't see you and like you. Getting into a residency program, it's not about being the perfect candidate, it's about finding the right fit. That is, the right residency position for you and the right residency position for your friend, the right residency position for this family member may be very different. The right way to think about this process is not about getting admitted to school, it's about getting married. And it's not that there's one ideal person to marry. There's a set of different people you can marry and probably be pretty happy, but you have to have the right fit. I have a friend who's married to a woman that he's quite happy with, but I couldn't live with her. And I'm sure the people that, even though I think my wife knows me and loves me, may not want to spend the rest of their life with me either. It's not about you're good, you're bad, you're great, you're terrible. It's about finding that fit, finding the match, if you will. Now, listen, let's use that basic metaphor here. One of the big things I hear people talk about as they're trying to get into residency is, well, the idea is I'm going to send out a lot of applications. If I just send out a lot of applications, I'll get in someplace. It's a numbers game, and if I have a small probability for each place, if I send out enough applications, I'll get in someplace. That's just not good thinking. Let's try this. Suppose I wasn't married and I wanted to get married in the next year. Here's two ways I might try to do that. Way number one, I go to a fairly busy place in town and I stand on a street corner, and every time a nice young woman comes by, I say, "Hey, my name is Steve. Would you like to get married?" What do you think my chances are going to be of getting married by the end of the year with that strategy? I would argue not pretty good, not very good. On the other hand, suppose I meet somebody, we talk for a little, get to know them, go on dates, meet our mutual friends, really get to know and share interests together, and then I pop the question and say, "Hey, you want to get married?" Much more likely to be successful, right? It's not about how many people you ask. It's about having done the preparation up until the place where you ask the question that makes the difference. Stop thinking it's about sending out all the applications you can, and understand it's about sending out the applications to the right places, the places where you're most likely going to have a fit, where you're going to match. To do this, you don't try to present yourself as some idealized candidate. You learn to tell your personal story. Everybody's unique. Everyone has a story. Now, yes, there are consistencies across stories, but I've listened to, without exaggeration, 1,000 stories, and everybody's story has their own personal stamp and their own personal twist. Learn to tell that story. Learn to present not your idealized image of what you should be, but who you are. What makes you unique? In the language sometimes gets used, what's your hook? What's going to cause people to notice you? Out of all the applications they're reading through, what's the one that's going to make your application stand out? See, there's a real tendency to take that image you have and try to present yourself as this quote unquote ideal candidate, but then you're just a mannequin. You're vanilla. You're like everybody else. There's nothing unique that makes you stand out. And you don't get noticed. And if you get noticed, you don't get remembered. If you present yourself by some template that somebody gives you, you're leaving your most important asset, who you are, off to the side. When I was in college, I went to a fairly small college in Michigan, but I had one class that had, maybe 120 people in the class, my largest class I was in. Um, the professor knew my name the first day. Why? Because I talked a lot, 120 people in the class. I didn't get to talk at all. So why did I get noticed? Because, listen here, this is true. Because I had hair down to my shoulders. It's true. And to keep the hair out of my eyes, I wore a red kerchief tied in the back. In the sea of 120 people, they noticed me. This is you trying to be a resident. This is you seeking that resident position. What's going to get you noticed? What's your hook? What are they going to remember about you? When they're sitting around a table and say, what about, and they're trying to remember who you are, what's going to come to mind? That's what's going to make the difference. You do that by telling your story in your own voice. There's a real tendency to want to hire someone to write your personal statement. Please don't. You can hire someone to edit your personal statement, maybe make your grammar better, maybe make it, a little punchier, but it's still got to be your story told in your way. When I was working with Kaplan many years ago, sat in a meeting where they talked about putting out a series of sample personal statements that people could use when they're applying for residency. And I quite literally pounded the table and said, absolutely not. Because here's what's going to happen. Everyone's going to take these personal statements and they're going to have a slight modification and make that their personal statement. And then all across the country that year, program directors are going to turn to their staff and say, oh, yeah, I got another one of those Kaplan personal statements. Because everyone's going to turn in statements that are like everybody else's. You're vanilla. You don't stand out. When you go buy ice cream, do you get vanilla ice cream? Some people do, but most people don't. Most people get, Jamocha, Brickle, Rocky Almond Fudge, or some other flavor like that. Well, right. You're not vanilla. You're a flavor. And if you want people to like you have to let them find out the flavor you are. Everyone's going to like you? No, not everybody likes every flavor of ice cream. But if someone really likes that flavor of ice cream and they find you, you're in. And if you're trying to hide your flavor and disguise it as vanilla, the people that really like your flavor won't find it. This next is, I think, really important. Nothing is wrong with you. I keep talking to people, preparing their application, seeking a residency position, trying to say, look, I have this issue. What do I do about that? Then you talk about it. Well, how do I hide this? You don't hide anything. Nothing will be hidden. Everything will be revealed. You just have to make it part of your story. I took step one and I failed. It took me 2 times to pass. I hope they don't notice. Of course they're going to notice. What's your story? Well, when I first sat and took this to do well. What I had to do differently, and I organized myself, and I learned to do what I needed to do. And you know what? I'm actually grateful for the opportunity because That gave me a time to really understand how to do the thinking I need, and I think makes me a better physician. You don't apologize for anything. Nothing's wrong with you. You tell your story. I have been out of medicine for 6 years. You see, I had a wonderful daughter, and I needed to take some time off for taking care of her and some family issues before I could return to medicine. Oh, but I wouldn't have given that up for anything. It was one of the joys of my life. And you know what? Having spent time raising my daughter, spending time with other people, with their families, I really have developed a different appreciation when I sit and I listen to some of my patients' issues. And I think that experience has given me insight I otherwise would not. You see where I'm going here? And none of the things that I'm saying are BS. Everything that I'm saying is true because you see, every experience you had made you the person you are today. And the person you are today is the person you're trying to get hired. Present who you are. Stop thinking, I have a problem. I, on the other hand, have a problem. I have a little cold here. You're fine. Rhinovirus is not digital. You're not going to catch it. But when you see me sniffle, see me wipe my nose, that's what's going on here, just so you know. Look, when you started training for medicine, you probably had this ideal idea of what a doctor should be. But if you've been in medicine long enough, you know that diversity, not an idealized image, is what clinical work is all about. When you've been around, you understand the textbook images. Nobody's body looks like the textbook images. No one's disease presentation looks exactly like what you presented in class. And you learn the diversity that is clinical medicine. Your job is not to be some idealized physician. Your job is to be the physician that you are. And if you cease to be the physician you are and try to be some other imaginary physician in your head, you've hurt all of us because you're not letting us have the physician that you are to take care of patients. And we need a diversity of physicians and experience and training in order to provide the population of patients we have the level of care and understanding they need. Do not deprive us of who you are, and do not hide who you are in your application. So, how to begin the process? First, you select a medical specialty. Notice that was singular. You select a specialty. Some people say, well, I was thinking about going into orthopedic surgery, or I'm also going to apply to family medicine. All right, first of all, what? Those two have nothing to do with one of them is probably a fit for you, and so let's find one of them you right is probably you right. And the preparation you're going to do to get your application together orthopedic surgery, and the preparation you're going to do to get your application together for family medicine are two very different things. Well, when I put my rank order list together, we'll talk about what that is in just a moment. I'm going to make sure I have some family medicine there to make sure I'm right someplace. Why? You just reduce your chance of getting into surgery. Make a choice. If you want to go for surgery, go for it. If you don't really think you have a chance, well, then don't go for it. Pick something else, but pick something else. You're an adult. Make some damn choices. How do you decide? What experience do you have? You practice medicine before you seek a residency position in the United States. What experience do you bring? Ideally, you're going to run with that experience because, hey, if I'm a program director and I get to hire an experienced person, that's a whole lot better than, well, let's face it, someone who's a medical student just a week ago and is coming in knowing nothing. What are your assets? What are the experiences of your life? What are the things that you know about and things you know how to do? What is it you bring to the table? And don't just go for what's easy. Well, I thought I'd go for psychiatry because I heard psychiatry was easy. All right, no, because one, um, everyone else is going for what's easy too, and so it's not going to be as easy as you think it is. And two, it may be easy, but if it doesn't fit you, then it's just going to be an easy misery instead of a happy success. Think about what you want to do for your medical practice because you're not just going to be doing this for a week or a month. You're going to be in residency working on this specialty for at least 3 years, if not up to 6 years, and you're going to be practicing this specialty for, geez, years, decades. Pick one specialty. If you can't figure out what specialty you want to pick, half of all residency program slots are internal medicine in the United States. So go for internal medicine. You can always subspecialize after you've done your initial years of residency training. That's one way to get where you want to go just by doing other specialty training or indeed fellowships. But pick something and then create your story for that. If you want to choose what you're going for, you do that because maybe you didn't get in someplace the first year, you're going to do that the second year. So if you say you first want to go into, I don't know, pediatrics, and gee, that doesn't work because you don't match anywhere, and you say, well, maybe I'll go to family medicine the next time because I think I might have a better chance. But notice each year you're seeking one particular specialty. I know you're going to hear advice that says go for a bunch of different specialties. Please don't. The mathematics is clear. You're reducing your chance of getting a slot by trying to hedge your bets. You seek your residency position, get organized. You need to be organized about the process. It's not just a weekend. It's not just a week. It's going to be months, and for sometimes even years. You want to have records of what happens so you can remember. Notebook spreadsheets. Record everything. Who have you talked to? Phone numbers. Talk to everybody. Don't be embarrassed. Me about 15 years ago, maybe. Guy in the driving the cab said, "What are you doing?" I told him, I was seeking a position for residency. And he said, "Oh, what do you do? What are you interested in?" And I talked about what it is I do. And he said, well, I feel like I want to help my community. And there's some doctors that I work with there. Do you mind if you give me your information? I'd be happy to pass it on to them. And that's how he got his residency position. You don't know how this works. You don't know what the connection is. Research on how people get a job. The classic study is called the strength of weak ties. The people that are going to get you the position probably are not going to be the best friends you have. They're going to be friends of friends of friends. And tell everybody. Because if you tell 100 people, 99 of them will be useless to you. But one might mean everything, and you don't know which one it is. Tell everybody. Don't be shy. The fact you're seeking a residency position is a noble enterprise, nothing to be embarrassed about. Ask for help. As you begin to identify residency programs, come up with a personal rating system. What do you think about this? This program is like number 10 on a 1 to 10 scale. That's the best. This one is like an 8 to me. Oh, this one's a 5. I'll look at it, but I'm not really enthusiastic. Because as you get more information, your rankings will change. And your being honest with yourself about what is appealing versus not appealing. Now, am I telling you you're going to get your tens? No, but you got to be honest about what you think, and you got to be honest about where you want to put your efforts and energy. The key to getting your residency is doing your homework. Doing your homework means finding out about who's at the program director, the attendings, what they're interested in, what kind of medicine they practice, what is the history of the program. You look broadly. You don't just pick a program. Oh, I wish I had $1 for every time I hear. I say, where are you looking at for residency? Somebody says, there's this program at University of Chicago. I'm going there. Okay, maybe, but you know what? I'm betting against that because that's not how this works. Maybe the one heart's desire you pick up is going to work out for you, but likely not. And so you gotta look more broadly, gotta hedge your bets, gotta think about an array of possibilities, all which you find acceptable. Focusing on one means you don't have the chances you'd otherwise have with an array of acceptable options. The key is that targeted applications to programs that you know and understand because you've done your homework gives you a much better chance of finding that fit, that match, than a shotgun approach where you just send out 200 applications. Sometimes in the course of looking at programs, you might find a program you really like, you're excited by, and then you look at them and you read the details and you go, yeah, this doesn't sound at all like me. Then you're not going to go there. Cross them off your list. Part of your homework is recognizing the simple reality. You're not applying to a faceless AI program. You're applying to people. Who are the people you're applying to? Program directors and their help? These are just literally you 10 years from now. The people that are evaluating you are literally you in a future life. So when you're trying to decide what you should put in, what you should not put in, what you should say in your application, what would impress you? What are the kind of things you'd like to hear about somebody? You know who these people are because they're you. Your job is to get a sense of who they are, see if there's a fit, and as in a date, have a conversation where you can share a connection because that connection is everything. Okay. Break the flow here just by throwing up a couple of things that I think are always useful to bring to people's attention. I love this map. It's a map of the United States, and each of those red dots, those little red dots, is 5 international medical graduates in residency. Now, here's why I put the map up. Because most people, when they think about a residency program, they're thinking about where their reddest dots are. And I think one of your best chances to getting a residency program are going in the other parts of the country. So along the East Coast, Chicago, California, those are all lovely places, but it's a big country. And there's probably, I'm guessing, less competition to get a residency program in Louisville, Kentucky, than there is in New York City. Well, know anything about Louisville, Kentucky? Well, then you should learn something. Look broadly. Look around. See, the problem here is not that you're not good enough. It's that you're trying to get on the subway at rush hour. And as everybody lives in Chicago, New York City, places where we have big subways knows, you try not to travel during rush hour because that's when everyone else is doing the same thing you are. My wife, raised in New York City, always says, let's wait and we'll go in at 10 o'clock and we'll come home later because that way we'll beat the rush. Well, I'm giving you the same advice. If you do what everybody else does, you're competing with everybody else. One of my unfavorite emails I used to get all the time was people that would write and say, um, I heard there's certain programs that are IMG friendly. Um, what are those programs? Can I have the list? And I say, well, here's the site, but stop and think for a second. How many other people have the same list you do? How many other people are sending out their applications to the exact same list you're about to, right? I don't see how that advantages you. Don't go where everybody else is. Don't stand in the long line. Go where other people are not. And I didn't tell you to, go into the wilds of Montana, although Montana's not a bad state. You want to go someplace where you'll be comfortable, but I am telling you, stop saying, I need to go to these core places. I need to do what everybody else does. When you're thinking about where to go for residency, where to apply, start with an honest conversation with yourself about what are the things that are important to you. Is location important because you have family issues, perhaps? You have religious issues. We need a religious community. Well, put that up front. Don't, throw that at the last moment after you've hunted through a whole bunch of programs and then decide, oops, all these I looked at are no good because they don't have blank. Think about what it is you want to learn. And really important, where and how do you want your, where do you want to have your medical practice and how do you want to practice? Biggest predictor where you're going to do your medical practice is where you did your residency program. So you might say, I'm going to do my residency in Louisiana, but I'm going to do my medical practice in, Oregon. And you might, but it's not nearly as likely as you're going to do your medical practice in Louisiana because your social network, the network of professional contacts you will make, the network of professional contacts, people you know professionally, will be close to where you do your residency training. That's where you're going to have, well, people that know you and can help you. Once you're looking to get information about different residency programs, well, I assume this is known to everybody, but you start with AMA FRIDA. Go online, choose a specialty, choose location, choose criterion. And this is not where you end. It just gives you a list of options to start from. You can say no to this one, yes to this one, and then do more detailed inquiry, spend time online, looking at them, getting a sense who's there, finding out whether or not it's a fit for you. In the time I have, that's really the only direction I can give you here. So, when you're getting that residency position, research is your edge. Finding the program that's a good fit for you. It takes effort, it takes time to hunt, find. Thank heavens we have Google. Thank heavens we have even AI to help with your search. But getting information about who you're applying to, not just applying blind into the void, makes all the difference. To do this, you will use all the contacts you have, both the medical professional contacts and non-professional contacts, family contacts, contacts of people in and outside the United States. Everybody knows somebody. Ask for help in the process. You don't know where it's coming from, but make some choices. Don't say I'll go to any place in the United States. I bet you won't. I bet there's certain places you don't want to go. So block those out early. I don't want to go there. There's certain specialties you're interested in, then focus on those specialties. I hear people all the time say, I'll go anywhere. No, you wouldn't. There's certain residency programs you just don't want to be in. And so it's not true you go anywhere. Getting into a bad residency is like getting into a bad marriage. And you may think, well, I'm married, so my parents will stop bothering me. But it's a high price to pay just to get your parents to stop bothering you. You got to find the right fit for you. Sometimes, as you're going through the process, people will tell you, no, we're not interested in you. You're not the person we want. You're simply not appropriate for here. Well, take the hit, take a moment, feel the emotional hit, and then move on. When you hear no, they did you a favor because you'll stop wasting your time on them. The programs that are not nice are the ones that string you along. Just send us something and, we'll let you know. If they're really holding you on the line and they're really not interested in you, they're hurting you. They're not helping you. That false hope, which emotionally feels good, is actually wasting your valuable time. And all decisions are made locally. I'm sorry, excuse me here. There is no national standard. Each program director and their minions have their own personal views about what they're looking for the people that are going to populate the residency program. There's as much diversity across program directions, what they're looking for, as there's diversity in candidates that are seeking positions. One program director, you may lay out all the details about yourself, and they laugh in your face and say, "You got to be kidding. We never look at you here." And you can walk across the street and another program director will look at your materials and go, "Wow, you're just the person we're looking for. When can you come and interview?" There's no national standard. Stop thinking there is. Stop judging whether or not I'm a good candidate or I'm not a good candidate. Because here's the brutal mathematical fact. If you look at, explore, apply to, let's say, 50 programs, too large a number, by the way. 20 is the number you should do after you've done your research. But you apply to 50 programs, and 49 of them say no, and one of them says yes. You know what you're doing next year? You're in residency. You don't need the world to love you. You need to find the fit. I don't need the world to love me. I need my wife to love me. You need to find the right fit. Stop looking at whether you're a good or bad person. Find the person, the program, the people that want what you're bringing, because what you have to bring is useful and interesting. Find what matches you. Really important, because what matches your friend is not what matches you. What your parents say is good may not match you. What you started off thinking you want and what you may now know being older and more experienced. Find what matches you. Stop thinking in terms of global standards. Stop thinking in terms of some stamp of approval, USDA grade A approved beef. Find what matches you, because that's how you're going to like them, they're going to like you, and you're going to be happy with your experience. Which means stop asking, what do I need to get into residency? And start saying, here's who I am, who wants what I bring. What do I need is the wrong question. Who wants what I am is the right question. It's not about trying to write up a manufactured image that you think is the thing you should be. It's about doing your homework and finding out the people that like the person you are, the expertise you bring, and the physician you're going to bring to contribute to their program. This is just a quick glance at the basic timeline. This timeline is, well, the one-year campaign to get a residency. March to July, start to research your options. June, July, the ARIS, that's the application process. August, September, you narrow your list and do your applications. And I suggest at this point you should be thinking about 20, maybe 30 programs and no more, because you've done your homework. Interviews scheduled September, October. Interviews November are done November to January. And by the way, if someone calls you and says, I schedule you for an interview, because by the way, that's how it happens. They schedule you, you drop whatever else is on your schedule, and you go to the damn interview. Match list is submitted in February. The match itself is in March with the quick follow-up SOAP. And then there's the March through April, the post-match scramble, where candidates try to find unfilled positions and program directors unfilled positions try to find candidates. The scramble is a way that some people do get into residency, but people say, what's the how does the scramble work? That question is it's utter chaos. There is no system. It's people calling people. It's what the match would be if we didn't have the system that we had. You simply reach out and try to find somebody who may have a slot in hopes that maybe you can get in when you didn't find something in the match itself. I want to conclude by reminding you that program directors are not simply saying yes or no about you. People seem to think this, but that's not how it works. Program directors are making a series of decisions about you, four decisions. And if you get no at any one of these decisions, you're out. If you get a yes, you move on to the next decision. The first decision they're going to make is about your USMLE scores. These days, that means your Step 2 CK scores or Step 3 if you have them. And although the people that produce the USMLE say they don't want these used as screening for residency, almost all program directors do because they have a huge number of applications and a few slots, and they are literally trying to cut the pile so they can do a reasonable amount of evaluation of the people that are left. USMLE scores are used to do that. Some people look at scores because if you have really high scores and you're applying at a position that a program that is not a program that takes people with high scores traditionally, then they won't look at you. They know the kind of people that usually go to their program. They're not going to waste their time on people that think will go somewhere else. Like your scores, made the first cut. Congratulations. Now they're going to read your application. They'll read your letters of recommendation. They'll read your personal statement. They'll find out all the things that you are providing to get a sense of who you are. If they like you, they like your package, congratulations. How you know they liked your package? They'll call you and schedule an interview. They call you and schedule an interview, feel really good because you just made it far through the process. Many people have fallen away at this point. You're still in the running. Congratulations. You made it over the two biggest hurdles, but you're not done yet. You got to show up and do well in the interview. You show up, you have your interview, or these days sometimes there's Zoom interviews, although I think face-to-face is always better for you if you can do that because it's easier to make a connection face-to-face. It's easier to get a sense of who you are face-to-face than it is over the Zoom or the digital media. They like the interview. Congratulations. You made it through the third hurdle. Wait, we're not done yet because they don't just say you're hired, you're not hired. They rank order you. If they have 5 first-year slots, they're going to take all the people they've interviewed, they're going to rank order them. And so they may like you a lot. They would be very happy if you came to their program. They just happen to like 15 other people better. And so you're number 16 on the list. And it just happens that the way the rank order algorithm works, you don't end up going there. Understand what I just said? It's possible that you don't match someplace, not because they didn't like you. They could like you a lot. You just didn't match given the algorithm. Happens. 4 decisions. Got to get yeses on all 4 decisions in order to get that position. If you don't get the position, well, then you have to stop and do a little diagnostic. Why didn't I? Was an issue they didn't like my scores, so I didn't get past that hurdle? Was something wrong, not the way it should be with my application package? My personal statement wasn't right. My letters of recommendation weren't good. If they called you for an interview, but you didn't get ranked, then something wasn't right with the interview. You have to stop and have an honest assessment about what happened. And finally, again, you can really be someone they'd be happy to have. You just didn't happen to match in the rank. More than once, many times. I've talked to people that said, program directors have said, yeah, this person called me and they said, why didn't I match there? And I'd have been happy to have them. Just the great algorithm didn't give them to me when they did the rank order list. So that's the process. You may say the process is strange or arcane, but judgment doesn't help here. That is indeed the process. And your job is to do whatever you can to increase your probability at each step of the process going forward. So, what I want you to remember as you walk away from this. First, excuse me here, I have to take care of something. There we go. First, remember you're seeking a job. You're not seeking admission to school. You're not trying to show people you're a dedicated student. You're trying to show them that you're an acceptable colleague they will be happy to see and work with over the next several years. It's not about being, quote, the ideal candidate. It's about finding the right fit, finding the right partners, finding people that match you. You do that by getting used to telling your personal story. All the things that have happened to you have made you who you are today. You tell that story so people can get to know you, get to know the kind of person you are, and feel comfortable with who you are. Because your job at the end of the day is not to achieve some great personal evaluation. I am a good person. It's to find the right program that fits you. You, key in the lock. Other people may not be the right fit, but this is the right fit for you. And remember, the people you're talking to are not some strange alien beings. They're people. They're literally a future you. They're looking at you, thinking back when they were residents, thinking about, do you have what it takes? And they don't expect you to be perfect because they know they weren't perfect when this process started. They don't expect you to know everything because they know they didn't know everything this process started. But they want to know that you have a good base, you're dedicated, you're willing to learn, and frankly, you're excited by the profession and your job. And that's my bottle cap of advice on how to do this process. If you have questions, I'm going to take this off the screen so I can see the chat and try to answer questions now. I put this up one more time. I have a Gmail account you can feel free to use and ask questions. I do try to respond to people, although I'm semi-retired. Sometimes I travel and it takes me a while to get back to things. I hope that you found this useful. I hope it gives you some guidance that will get you towards your goal and get you the kind of things you want to have in life. Okay, with that, though, I will now stop sharing. I will open up the chat. Okay.